She lay strapped to a bed and was pleading with them to help her. They appeared indifferent, and she died a short time later.
No concern whatsoever for the patient's well-being, and that is absolutely terrible.
And she say herself, weeks before, one day they're gonna kill me.
Racism and prejudice contributed to the death of Joyce Echaquan.
September 28th, 2020. Joliette Hospital, Quebec. A woman lies strapped to her bed. Her breathing is labored, her voice weak but insistent. She reaches for her phone, opens Facebook Live. For 7 minutes, the world witnesses what she had long feared. On the video, Joyce Echaquan cries out, "It hurts. They are overdosing me." Her words tremble with pain. And in the background, the voices of hospital staff. Not voices of compassion, not voices of care. Instead, they mock her. They call her stupid. They tell her she is better off dead. By the end of that day, Joyce will be gone. A 37-year-old mother of 7, a proud member of the Atikamekw Nation. Her live stream would spark outrage across Canada and reveal, in brutal detail, how prejudice and neglect can kill inside a hospital. If you're watching for first time, welcome to Medical Crime Files. Hit subscribe now, because the stories we uncover expose how lives are lost in places meant to heal, and the next case could change how you see medicine forever. Joyce Echaquan was born on August 28, 1983, in Manawan, Quebec, a remote First Nations reserve about 200 kilometers north of Montreal. The Atikamekw people have lived there for centuries, maintaining their language and traditions despite systemic discrimination. Joyce grew up surrounded by family and culture. She was spiritual, devoted to her Catholic faith, but equally proud of her Indigenous identity. She married Carol Dubé, and together they built a family. 7 children, from a newborn to young adults. She was known in Manawan as warm, caring, full of laughter. Her life, though, was not without hardship. Joyce lived with diabetes and severe non-ischemic cardiomyopathy, a form of heart disease not caused by blocked arteries, but by weakened heart muscle. This left her with heart failure and an ejection fraction, often below 40%, dangerously low. Because of this, Joyce became a frequent patient at Joliette Hospital. Month after month, she traveled the 2.5-hour logging road from Manawan. Each visit was exhausting but necessary. Each visit left her feeling more uneasy. She confided in relatives that she did not feel safe there, that she was judged, dismissed, treated as if she did not belong. Her cousin later recalled Joyce's chilling prediction, "One day, they're going to kill me." On Saturday, September 26, 2020, Joyce began experiencing excruciating abdominal pain. Stabbing relentless, rated 10 out of 10. She endured it for more than 24 hours, but by the next evening, it became unbearable. Joyce contacted paramedics. She and Carol made the difficult decision. She had to go to Joliette Hospital. The journey itself was daunting. 2 hours over rugged terrain in an ambulance, far from the safety of home. By the time Joyce arrived that night, she was weak, nauseated, and terrified. At triage, she explained her symptoms: abdominal pain, palpitations, difficulty breathing, loss of appetite. The emergency team ordered tests, an electrocardiogram, blood work, and cardiac enzymes. The results came back normal. Their provisional diagnosis: epigastric pain of unknown cause, combined with worsening iron deficiency anemia. Her hemoglobin had dropped dramatically from 107 grams per liter to 81 grams per liter within a month. The gastroenterologist on call recommended a colonoscopy, scheduled for following Monday, but the tone of her care was already shifting. Staff began referring to her as agitated. Notes in her chart suggested she might be going through drug withdrawal. There was no evidence of this. Joyce had prescriptions, including morphine in the past, but she had no diagnosis of dependence. Still, the assumption stuck. On Sunday, September 27th, Joyce's condition worsened. She complained of pain, nausea, and distress. She was given morphine, the very medication she feared because of her fragile heart. She told her family she didn't want it, but staff insisted. Later that day, she grew restless. Staff described her as theatrical. At one point, she was restrained, wrists, ankles, and waist, 5 straps in total. For hours, she lay immobilized. By nightfall, the restraints were removed, but her dignity had already been stripped away. In the early morning of September 28th, Joyce grew anxious again. She called her sister-in-law from the hospital, begging her to come and pick her up. She felt unsafe. She was terrified. Instead, her care escalated. At 10:25 a.m., doctors ordered an intramuscular injection of haloperidol, a potent antipsychotic, used here not for psychosis, but as a chemical restraint. This, combined with her heart condition and the earlier morphine, made her vulnerable to cardiac arrest. Moments later, Joyce opened her phone. She began to live stream. The video lasted just over 7 minutes. It would become one of the most damning pieces of evidence ever captured in a Canadian hospital. In Atikamekw, Joyce called out, "It hurts me, Carol. Come see me. They're overdosing me with drugs." She groaned in pain. She cried. And then the voices. 2 staff members, a nurse and an orderly, mocked her. "You're stupid as hell. Are you done acting stupid? She's good for sex more than anything else. She's better off dead." These words, racist and dehumanizing, were spoken while Joyce lay restrained, begging for help. Her family, scrolling Facebook in Manawan, saw the live stream in real time. Shocked and horrified, they scrambled to get to Joliette, but the distance was too great. By the time they arrived, Joyce's condition had collapsed. At around 11:45 a.m., Joyce's vital signs plummeted. Her blood pressure, 57/35. Oxygen saturation, 90%. Pulse weak and irregular. Staff delayed moving her to the resuscitation room, citing a lack of available beds. She remained restrained and poorly monitored. Finally, at 11:56 a.m., she was transferred. By then, her breathing had slowed to 6 breaths per minute. She was unresponsive. At 12:44 p.m., after nearly an hour of attempted resuscitation, Joyce Echaquan was declared dead. The official cause was cardiogenic shock leading to pulmonary edema. Essentially, her heart had failed. But her family knew what had really killed her. Neglect, bias, racism. Within hours, the live stream went viral. Outrage spread across Canada. Politicians promised investigations. The hospital fired a nurse, an orderly involved. But for Joyce's family, and for Indigenous communities across the country, the question was clear. How many more lives have been lost in silence, without a camera to bear witness? When Joyce's live stream ended, the damage was already done. Her final moments were captured. The voices of her abusers were recorded, and the world was watching. Within hours, the video spread across social media. By evening, it had reached national news. People saw a 37-year-old mother restrained, mocked, and left to die. For Indigenous communities, it was no surprise. For the wider public, it was a shock. The hospital responded quickly. The nurse and orderly heard in the video were suspended, then fired. Quebec's premier condemned their words as unacceptable and racist, but he stopped short of acknowledging the deeper problem, systemic racism. For Joyce's husband, Carol Dubé, the video was unbearable. He said, "I lost my wife, the mother of my children. What happened here is inhuman. It should never happen to anyone." A full investigation began. The coroner, Gihane Camel, heard testimony from staff, doctors, and Joyce's family. She examined medical charts, timelines, and the live stream itself. Her conclusion was stark. Joyce did not die only of heart disease. She died from neglect, poor monitoring, and bias. The restraints, the use of haloperidol, the lack of supervision, and the dismissal of her pain all contributed. And then came the question everyone was asking. If Joyce had been white, would she still be alive? The coroner's answer was simple. I think so. Joyce's death exposed more than individual cruelty. It revealed patterns. In 2019, just a year earlier, Quebec's Vienne Commission had already documented widespread discrimination against Indigenous peoples in public services, including healthcare. Joyce's case was not isolated. It was part of the system. Her community, the Atikamekw Nation, spoke out. They had heard Joyce's fears long before her final hospitalization. She had told relatives, "One day they will kill me." For them, her death was a tragic confirmation of a truth Indigenous people had lived with for decades. Who failed Joyce more? The individuals who mocked her, or the system that allowed this culture of neglect? Tell me what you think in the comments below. And if you believe stories like this must be told, subscribe now, because silence only protects the guilty. Across Canada, vigils were held. Thousands gathered, holding signs that read, "Justice for Joyce." Purple ribbons, her favorite color, became symbols of solidarity. In Joliette, Indigenous leaders called for sweeping reforms. They demanded cultural safety in healthcare, mandatory anti-racism training, and accountability for staff. The government promised change, but Indigenous families had heard those promises before. What they wanted was action. In 2022, Joyce's family filed a $2.7 million lawsuit. The defendants, the regional health authority, the nurse, and the doctor responsible for her care. The claim accused them of negligence, discrimination, and violating Joyce's basic rights. Their lawyer emphasized that the system knew of racism in hospitals long before Joyce's death and failed to act. It took Joyce dying on video for them to acknowledge what communities had been saying for years. The case is still winding its way through the courts. But for Carol and their 7 children, no settlement will ever undo the trauma of watching Joyce die in real time. From tragedy came a movement. The Atikamekw Nation launched Joyce's Principle, a declaration demanding equitable health care for Indigenous peoples, free from discrimination. It called for recognition of systemic racism, cultural safety training, and the right of Indigenous patients to receive care that respects their traditions. The principle gained national support. Medical schools, advocacy groups, and Indigenous leaders rallied behind it. In 2021, McGill University's Department of Family Medicine became the first medical program in Canada to adopt Joyce's Principle as policy. But Quebec's government refused. Premier François Legault denied the existence of systemic racism. Without that admission, he said, the province could not adopt the principle. For many, it was proof that the system was still protecting itself. Joyce's case echoed other tragedies. Indigenous patients across Canada had long reported being dismissed, mocked, or accused of drug seeking. Many avoided hospitals altogether out of fear. The live stream gave undeniable proof. This time, the world could not look away. Yet the problem was not confined to Quebec. Studies across Canada and beyond show that racial bias continues to shape medical decisions. Who gets treated, who gets believed, who survives. Joyce's story became a rallying cry, not just for her people, but for anyone who has felt powerless in the face of medical neglect. Joyce was more than a symbol. She was a wife, a mother, a daughter. She loved her children deeply. She loved her community. She was known for her laughter, her faith, and her generosity. Her husband, Carol, said she was a pillar of our family. Everything we did with her. The live stream stripped Joyce of her privacy, but it gave her a voice in death that she had been denied in life. Her final act, hitting record, forced Canada to confront its failures. Joyce Echaquan should still be here, raising her children, living her life, respected as a woman she was. Instead, her final live stream is a warning we cannot ignore. If you believe her story must never be forgotten, share this video so more people hear her voice. Tell me in the comments what justice for Joyce means to you. And don't forget to subscribe to Medical Crime Files and turn on notifications, because the victims of neglect deserve more than silence. They deserve justice.